My name is Ann Tasovsky, and I'm president and third generation owner of Home Nursery. We were founded in 1921 by my grandfather, who came from Czechoslovakia, and growing up on a farm in his backyard, growing fruits and berries and nuts and all those things. And he found a passion for growing and opened a business, and we began in the garden center and landscape segment of the industry and worked our way into more wholesale growing. My father and uncle took over the business as the second generation and built the company into a 15-state nursery supplier to independent garden centers, retail landscape contractors, and distribution centers. And here we are today with 2 farms in Tennessee and 1 farm in Illinois and 2 distribution centers. So what attracted us to work with Rain and Taproots was really his nursery experience. He comes from a family business and has hands-on experience in the nursery industry versus, outside consultants who, maybe are from outside the industry, may know manufacturing, but not necessarily know who we are as the nursery industry. We tend to be a close-knit, have a family connection, so having that understanding was definitely a benefit for us. We found out about Rain through an American Hort webinar he did on sales training. Our sales manager was on that webinar, and she was really excited after attending that, and she said, we need to work with him somehow or other, and we've been talking about ERP systems for a really long time and thought maybe that would be a really good place to start. For Home Nursery, business before Taproots was fine. Things were going along. We've been in business for 104 years, so we're doing things right. But we struggle with building efficiencies, and everybody's out there doing their jobs independently, but maybe we're lacking some communications between all departments. We're working in silos and not necessarily moving in the same direction at the same time. So Rain brought us together to work on our communication skills and identify processes, and so we can start moving in the same direction and becoming more efficient and more profitable at the end. Improving efficiencies has been on our mind for quite a while. Margins are becoming such a big part of how we operate. Costing has always been a challenge for the nursery industry, so trying to find out ways to improve our costing and improve our margins has been something that we've been talking about for a long time, and now hopefully we'll be getting the tools and the resources to be able to do a better job with that. So anytime you venture down a new path, there's maybe always some doubts and inhibitions. And before joining Taproots and before making the decision to partner with Rain, doing your due diligence and knowing about the company, knowing that, again, that he is part of the nursery industry. So it's kind of a nice feeling to have that. And then, just maybe taking a risk, just kind of jumping in, and we need to make the improvements. We need to push ourselves to be uncomfortable, and let's just move forward. So far in our process with Rain, we've worked on process mapping. We've worked on identifying what we do well, some things that we want to work on, and setting goals, as well as working with the team to improve our communications and how we meet and what we discuss at meetings, so that we're being efficient with our time and everybody is on the same page. One of my biggest takeaways from Rain's time spent with us is we should have really done this a long time ago. What are we waiting for? And you can always find a way to justify why not to do something. It's never a good time. You never have the money or the resources, but I think that was the biggest thing is, why didn't we do this sooner? And so glad we did. I would definitely recommend hiring Rain to anyone in our industry. He comes from a family business. He knows production, he knows sales, he's been in all facets of the industry, so he really connects with his clients in a really positive way, in a meaningful way. So I would definitely say go for it. When we first made connection with Rain, it was through sales training. So that is something that we will eventually work on with him. Other ways that he can help businesses are with ERP solutions, even family business leadership issues or growth opportunities for the next generation, as well as communication within the company and business development. If I were to time machine and talk to my earlier, younger self, I would say be confident in taking a risk, because a lot of work now is going to pay off big in the end.
My name is Keith Diddleman. I am Vice President of Support Operations here at Home Nursery. I oversee our shipping, inventory and quality control, outside purchasing, and run our 2 distribution centers. Home Nursery was started in 1921 in Edwardsville, Illinois, primarily focused on greenhouse growing and rose production. At one time, Home Nursery had several garden centers in the St. Louis Metro East area. By the 1970s, we had purchased our farm in Albers, Illinois, and had gone more strongly into wholesale grower part of the industry. We now encompass 260 acres and sell all across the Midwest. We're no longer in the retail operation at all. The size of our nursery encompasses 260 acres here at the Albers, Illinois farm. We have another 130 acres of production in McMinnville, Tennessee. We have a 10-acre greenhouse range that we use for propagation and perennial production that is also in McMinnville, Tennessee. We were attracted to Taproots. We were looking for someone who could help us navigate the exploration of a new ERP system. One member of our team had met Rain, and as we were looking for a new company to take us through this process, we decided to explore what their offerings would be, and after doing that, decided that he was probably the best fit for our company. Any doubts that we had about Taproots, in as much as you have concerns about hiring anybody to help you through a process that you're not a professional at, you're always worried to some extent if it's going to work out. But with Rain and Taproots, what we saw in them was a company that had a lot of nursery background, that knew the game we were playing and understood the pain points that we have. So familiarity with the industry is what really turned us to going with Rain and Taproots. The process we went through to uncover areas of improvement, Rain sat down our senior management team. We went through exploration of goals, what we're trying to achieve, some of the impediments to reaching those goals, and kind of developed an entire overreaching plan that we're going to be able to dive down into and correct the problems that we have. Before working together, business for us was, I won't say a struggle, but certainly a challenge. We have lots of pain points in our current system. I think there's a lot of inefficiencies due to having a system that isn't user-friendly. We also know, though, that our own processes need improvement. We know that we needed help getting through that process improvement. So yeah, we're looking forward to relieving the pain and to moving on to better efficiencies. We've struggled with our current issues for some time. The last upgrade on our system was 8 years ago. So, and I will say the implementation process of that and the training that went along with it was subpar. We're probably not using our current system to its fullest extent, but there's issues with the way we relate to our system and our system relates to us. So we know we need it to be better so that we can be a more productive and efficient company. Some of the things we've done so far is we've identified our goals, kind of our large overreaching goals. We've identified points of communication where we know exchanges of information need to take place and what needs to be improved upon there. We've recognized the need for that we need better processes. We've identified those. We've brought in certain members of our middle management team also be involved in that process development, and recognized what it is that what our goals need to be in order to achieve this. Some of my biggest takeaways so far are that you have to have an understanding of what your long-reaching goals are. You have to have an understanding of where your communication shortfalls are. You have to have an understanding of what you're trying to accomplish with your processes. Without that, you can't relate that to a new ERP system. That's the biggest takeaway. It's going to take time, it's going to take effort, but we are willing to trust the process as we move forward. The type of businesses that I would recommend Taproots to anyone in the nursery industry, for sure. Rain's knowledge of the industry, not only process development, but the nursery setup and even watering irrigation patterns and production scheduling. He's familiar with all of that. But any business who's looking for good process development and understanding of their major goals would also be a company that could use Taproots. If I could go back in time a few months, what I would tell myself is don't worry about the process. It will work out. We know that we're hungry for this. We know that it's a process that's going to be hard, but that it's going to be worth it. We're just now getting into the process, so to ask, is the engagement worth it? It's a little bit of an unknown right now, but I believe it is. We know as a company that we have to go through this process. We know that we can't grow as a company without it.
My name's Hillary Metzger. I'm the sales manager here at Home Nursery. We have a team of inside sales reps, but then also outside sales reps that I manage, keep the flow going as far as internal and external communications. So yeah, we started in 1921. We have a long history of retail garden centers. We at one time I think had around a dozen. We've since then consolidated to be a re-wholesaler, a wholesaler grower. So we started in Edwardsville, which is where our current president lives, and then we bought the farm here in Albers and then now reside in Albers, Illinois. Currently shipped to 15 Midwestern states, and that's continuing to grow. So I found out about Taproots through actually an American Hort webinar that you were giving. It was about sales, I think developing your next best salesperson. So really liked that information, really liked how you presented and just all that was involved with the webinar, and then actually took that information back to Ann, our president, and then here we are today with more. We didn't actually do what we initially met about, but I think that's later to come. So what attracted me to Taproots is just your overall personality, how relatable you are, that you have industry experience. We had previously worked with a consultant that had no industry experience. They were really high level and knowledgeable, had worked with Tyson Foods, but didn't know how we actually operate in the industry. We're not creating widgets, we're dealing with live living plant materials. So that was super important to us, and just to know the ins and outs of all the business I think was the best thing. So one doubt that I had, or maybe we had, about hiring Taproots was that we were going to get in the same situation that we were in previously with our previous consultant. Just, you spend a lot of money and you don't actually get what you want, or you don't, it's just not the vision plan that you had in mind. So the discovery process that we worked with Rain on kind of looked like, started with super big picture, doing the sailboat island, Home Nursery is the boat, you're trying to get to the island, what's it going to take to get there? So that really revealed a lot of things that we already knew. It's things that we've been talking about. I've been at Home Nursery for 5 years, so it's stuff that we literally talk about over and over, but there's no action plan to actually get there. So just to bring some of that up and then actually to physically put it on a board with Post-it notes was super helpful. The business before we started working with Rain and Taproots was, business is good, sales are good, but it's chaotic. Everybody has a lot of moving targets. We get very down into the weeds, especially me as a sales manager. I find myself doing things that I shouldn't probably be spending my time doing, that I should be, thinking higher level. So, I'm excited about that part, that we can remove some of the mundane, busy work from everybody's plate. It's important that we're focusing on the issues now, because I think we all are all in agreements. One, that we're at a stopping point, one with our ERP system, that's been, we've been talking for 2 years now that we know we have to get a new ERP system, but then all of our processes that lead up to getting a new ERP, we know that, we're working like a company that's from the 1980s, right? Not in 2025. So it just kind of all came to a head at once. So some of the things that we've done so far working with Rain and Taproots, we've, discovered those big pain point items, like our goals, where we want to be, big picture, but then also like, hey, what do you guys want to get done within the next 3 months? What do you want to get done within the next 6 months? And for me, that's the biggest part, is like putting it on a whiteboard, seeing how many things that I'm going to be responsible for, but then also like, what's the timeline to get those done? And then the meeting we had today was actually like, here's how to have a really productive meeting with a big group of people, but you don't have to spend 4 hours doing it. The biggest takeaways I have had so far, I would say, is, how many things sales is really involved with. You know, Rain has said multiple times it starts with sales and it ends with sales, and I've known that, but just to truly know how much, you know, our department affects everything, but then also how we all have to work together and the communication at the end of the day. I would say anybody that's in a similar situation like us, like we have a very established business customer base, we're good at what we do, but we're in a kind of a weird spot of like, we know we need to be able to grow, but we don't know how to do it. We're stuck with their ERP or maybe even production planning, or like I initially went to Rain for some sales coaching. I've got some new team members coming in. So I think he can offer a lot of different things to a lot of different people. What I would tell my younger self if I were having doubts about hiring Taproots would be the money's probably going to be well worth it. I mean, again, going back to, you know, the previous consultant we hired, looking at the dollars, very affordable, the time that he's willing to spend with you, you know, I guess basically that it's worth it. It's worth your time and the money invested. I think the investment's definitely been worth it. It's not money out of my direct pocket. Obviously, it's out of the company's, but I just see the path forward, and it kind of creates a clearer picture that we all need.